Here we go, episode 107 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I'm Michael Merlo. That's John Michael Masseri. Big time episode we got for you. A lot of NFL, some Major League Baseball for the first time in a little while. JM, start with you. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, not good, Mike. I've been better. Okay, I'll just start off with that. I'm sure a lot of people were wondering what my reaction to all this Aaron Rodgers news is going to be, and not good. Not good.
Yeah, well, you won week one. That's where we are going to start. The most watched Monday Night Football game in the history of Monday Night Football from everything we read today. Of course, we're going to get to the Thursday night game that comes out tonight, if you're listening tonight. We're going to get to week two. Very excited for that. But we are going to start with what happened on Monday Night Football with the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers down for the season, as we all know. Zach Wilson coming in to try and save the day. You were there, so why don't you just kind of give a little bit of what the atmosphere was like before the game, during the game, while it happened, and then even after when they had, basically it was a miraculous win to close it out against the Bills, who we're going to talk about in a minute.
Right. Well, I'll say I've been to some big games in my life, and I've been to Yankee playoff games, I've been to big football games, big basketball games, college basketball games. That was the most electric atmosphere I've ever been to. Every single fan just had energy that was through the roof. I mean, everybody was just so pumped up, and the Jets did a great job. The pregame ceremonies were great. Obviously, all the 9/11 stuff was very touching and very well done. You saw the player intros with the Rodgers running out with the flag and the other guys running out with the flag. So everybody was ready. Everybody was ready to rock, and it was an electric atmosphere. And, it was an electric atmosphere until the end. I'll give the fans credit. Everybody hung in there. The place felt like it was going to crumble to the ground when Gibson walked it off there at the end. But you really felt the energy just get sucked out of the stadium as soon as he went down.
I know the I don't understand the full extent of the heartbreak you're going through, right? And we talk about heartbreak and devastation, like obviously, in sports terms, right? I mean, sports, we live for sports. Obviously, There's much more serious things. But in terms of sports, I understand to the extent the heartbreak that you're going through, because, I've had heartbreaking seasons. I've had teams with expectations and players go down when they're not supposed to, and you're just looking forward to seeing them, but none to the level of Aaron Rodgers, like bringing in Aaron Rodgers and having all this hype the entire offseason and even building the team that you built. I mean, I chuckle because it's like, wow, how much expectation.
Honestly, I think it's one of, if not the worst injury of all time in terms of timing. And I don't want to say timing because there's been injuries when guys are playing in championship games and this and that. But in terms of off-season hype, player caliber, location, the sport, everything, it just seemed like a perfect storm of the New York Jets were the story of the NFL. They were the story of sports for the past couple of months. And the fact that one of football's greatest players ended up in New York, and it kind of seemed like a perfect story waiting to happen here and all the hype, and then the guy goes down 4 snaps into the game. You really cannot make it up.
You can't make it up, and you'll see online, oh my God, Jets, LOL Jets, and I'm going to say this, okay?
You're not wrong,
because you're not wrong, but I don't. What I'm about to say, I don't mean it like that. And we're going to talk about the future and what could possibly happen with the Jets probably right now. But it makes so much sense that this kind of happened to the Jets and the way they now have to go about their business, right? Because the expectations are obviously lowered. Yeah. You still have this absolutely elite defense, one of the top 1, 2, or 3 defenses in the sport. And again, the expectations lower. You're bringing in a quarterback that, frankly, was hated in parts of last season. Doesn't it feel kind of stupid? Like, now we're going to go on this run. I'm not saying they're going to, but doesn't it feel a little Jetsian to say, this guy went down, this guy's stepping up, we still have this? You kind of play with the lower expectations.
I mean, yes, this is a team where I still have some playoff expectations for this team, or at least 8 wins, 9 wins for this team, because I just think the defense is fantastic. The weapons are great, and they're going to be better this year. And you're hoping for a fully healthy season out of Breece Hall, who, by the way, was 5-2 with the Jets last year before he got hurt. I mean, that was a big deal that Breece Hall went down. So Yes, I think that just writing the Jets off is stupid because they just beat the Bills. Like, Rodgers got hurt 4 snaps into the game. He didn't complete a pass, and we were able to beat the Bills, who are a team that's been the AFC East champions for many years in a row now. So to write them off is stupid, but just to go back to the whole Jets thing, it really is like there's got to be a curse. I'm sorry, like I don't want to get all stupid Jets fan here, but there really just has to be a curse. It is you can't even like write that story. Like,
you can't write it the way that happened.
You'd just be like, this is ridiculous. Like, come on, we're being a little over the top here. How about this? The New York Jets, the last time this happened, it was 1999. They were just coming off an AFC Championship appearance. They bring out Vinny Testaverde and Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. These are, Belichick's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league at the time. Obviously turned out to be a great coach. Parcells, a guy who's got a ton of stuff on his resume. Now he's the head coach of the Jets. Testaverde's a veteran guy, thought to be the guy who, not an Aaron Rodgers type, but a guy who was going to help them get over the hump and get to that Super Bowl. He comes out, tears his Achilles in the second quarter. Guess who the Jets bring out for the coin toss on Monday night? Vinny Testaverde is there to do the coin toss. And I didn't really even realize that all this went down about Testaverde in 99. And then they're like saying all this stuff about, oh, this is reminding us of Testaverde in 99. I'm like, did they really bring this guy out for Aaron Rodgers' debut?
And if anybody you could have brought out, like you could have brought out so many guys. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a great Jet history, but there's still other players that you could have brought out.
Anybody else.
Yeah.
I'd take Mark Sanchez over Vinny Testaverde if I knew that beforehand.
Yeah. Again, that's very Jet-like before the game. How about your boy Woody Johnson walking around in the, which, by the way, I respect the pop buttons on the button-down shirt.
I always tell you got to pop a button.
I always love listen, you got to
do it. Yeah, respect.
I love popping a button.
Yeah, you always got to pop a button. Let it loose.
Woody did a great job with that. But, I mean, the chain that he's got that says Woody. Yeah. Like, bro, come on, dude.
I think it's funny, but
it's actually it's comical. It looks so stupid.
These are the things
bad.
that like bother you. Like you have problems. Like these little tiny things bother you for absolutely no reason.
Well, see,
like, you always like
here we go.
Things like this.
Right, I do, and
it
shouldn't bother me. But it's like, first off, I think the guy's worth $61 billion. Okay.
Yeah, most likely.
He owns the Jets.
Yes.
He's a very rich man.
Yes.
Can we look a little bit more presentable?
Oh my God!
Before the game,
you act like the guy shows up in an Adam Sandler outfit, like he's still well put together.
That would look better.
That would look better. You'd rather
by the way,
baggy gym shorts and like an overgrown haircut.
Also, by the way,
love Adam Sandler. By the way,
you met Adam Sandler.
I did meet Adam Sandler.
By the way, Sexy Red too. Before the game, we got to have the Ski Yee artist.
Yeah.
And by the way. What's with these rappers and celebrities walking around? She was literally walking around. Did you see this?
Yeah, with a gigantic stack of money in her hand.
Yeah, I don't know if it was hundreds or 20s or singles.
I was hoping she'd maybe throw it into the crowd. I could get some.
Yeah.
It would have helped a freaking day. But it's you're walking out.
What of it though? What if it actually helped the day?
Yeah.
How much would it help the day?
I was staring, and my friends had to have thought that there was something seriously wrong with me. I was staring out at that blue medical tent for 25 minutes. Everybody around me, like, people are starting to get up, like, all right, come on, like, we got to cheer. We're still in this game, blah, blah, blah. I'm just looking out at this blue tent. I'm like, if this guy's out for the year, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And then my friends are looking at me, and I'm literally sitting there to myself. I'm like, JM, you cannot start crying around 60,000 people right now. You are going to look like a bitch.
Like, you can't be doing that.
Do that. So I didn't cry. But the only thing that was keeping me sane, or somewhat sane, leaving that stadium, was the fact that we won. Like, everybody was just needed something to be happy about right there. And that's obviously what did it. I mean, it was still a fantastic football game. I don't want to sit here and just dwindle about Rodgers. It's extremely upsetting, but this football team's still in it. They still believe in themselves. I still believe in them, and they put out a hell of a performance on Monday night.
How much like I was thinking about that too while I'm watching, because I turned it off because it was 13-3. I'm like, this game's over. I'm like, there's no way Wilson's going to lead him to a comeback. And the Jets actually, before the season started, about a week before the season, the defense had came out and said, well, we want to be like the 85 Bears. We're like the 85 Bears. Right. And you don't compare yourself to the 85 Bears. Just like a basketball player doesn't sit there and compare themselves to LeBron James or Michael Jordan. You don't do that.
Right.
So that rubbed me the wrong way, and we actually forgot to talk about it last week, and I wanted to rip them for it. But I saw on Twitter, and this was very true, if you want to compare yourself to the 85 Bears, they find a way to win that game.
Yeah.
And you know what? That defense stepped up and won them that football game. So credit to them. That's how good that defense is. Now let's talk about kind of, where you were leading to. You think this is an 8-9 win team, and I wrote it right here. I agree. I think for the most part they'll compete. They'll win about 8-9 games. But you're talking about an AFC that is, again, what we talked about before the season. It's just a gauntlet. It's brutal. One of the toughest seasons we've seen from a conference in the league in years.
Right.
So, to me, playoffs, you can compete for the playoffs, but I don't see the playoffs with Zach Wilson too realistic here.
Well, I mean, listen, we're going to have to watch Zach Wilson play. We're going to have to see if there's any sort of improvement from last year. Now, I think Zach Wilson actually did a pretty good job last week. Another thing that people just don't want to talk about, and I wanted Zach Wilson ran out of town last year, believe me. Zach Wilson came into that game with zero preparation to be the starter for that game. He's going up on a Monday night game in front of 65,000 people. Exactly, the biggest game of his career. And he comes in against a top 5 defense and just in shock that his idol and his role model, Aaron Rodgers, who came over, they both became very close. They were close before Rodgers even came to New York. They became friends last year in training camp. Rodgers comes over. He watches his best bud go down. Now he's got to just be thrown into the fire. And he made a mistake. He made a few mistakes. He threw the pick to Milano, and he made a couple other mistakes. Maybe missed a couple throws. Maybe, didn't see a guy open or held onto the ball too long. The kid also made some pretty nice plays down the stretch for them. He had that really nice third down completion to Lazard. The ball to Garrett Wilson wasn't perfect by any means, but the confidence to switch that audible, that was supposed to be a run play, the confidence to switch to that fade and be confident in your receiver in Garrett Wilson, that's something to admire. I think that Zach Wilson needs to take somewhat of a step forward compared to last year, obviously, in order for this team to have any sort of playoff hopes. Do I think that's an unrealistic ask? No. I don't need Zach Wilson to go out there and beat Aaron Rodgers. He said it himself in his interview. He said, I just need to get as close to Aaron Rodgers as I can.
We argued about Nate Hackett a lot and, why he was brought here. Was he brought here to lure Rodgers to the Jets, or was he brought here because, he's a legit offensive coordinator? And, I tended to side a little bit with the fact that, he was friendly with Rodgers. But we're going to find out right now if he was brought here to be a legit offensive coordinator. Right. What is he going to do with this kid? How can he make Zach Wilson's life as easy as possible? Can the scheme work? Can he have Zach Wilson be a game manager? Right. And if they are able to do that, then I'll be proven wrong about Nate Hackett.
Am I wrong to just assume that this team could possibly take on the role of like a 49ers light, like I keep trying to call them, not the current Niners, more of the Jimmy G when the Niners went to the Super Bowl year where they ran the ball 37 times against the Packers or whatever the crazy number.
You're wrong about a few.
I think, first of all, the defense is more than capable to be that level.
Yeah, it's the offense.
They could be the number. But the thing is, those Niners teams, the current one and the 2020, was that 2020 or 2019?
2019.
The 2019 Niners, the offensive line was better. But the weapons, I think the Jets are right up there with them.
Yeah, with the weapons, I think it's scheming and coaching on the offensive side of the ball that Shanahan has just
fair enough.
So
but
much
also
of an
the book's
advantage.
out on Hackett. I mean, it's. Yes, I understand the thing of just saying, okay, he's just had success with Rodgers, and he had that season last year with Russell Wilson. That was a train wreck, but we're not going to count that. That's a head coach season. And by the way, look what the Broncos did week 1. Sean Payton, it's not an easy task with that team.
Good first half.
Good first half. Fantastic. But we got to also give Nathaniel Hackett credit to come over there when Aaron Rodgers is coming off a down season and they draft Jordan Love, and all of a sudden he gets there and Aaron Rodgers returns to MVP form and rips off back-to-back MVP. So the guy obviously knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball.
We're going to find out. We're really going to find out with Zach Wilson again.
Now, did you see what Rodgers posted on Instagram today?
I did, yes. Nice picture.
I will return or
I'll pull it up. The
pull it
Dawn
up.
doesn't.
But a lot of people around the league have said Aaron Rodgers is not going to go out like this. And when he got hurt, it was obviously everything's going through my head. I'm like, this is awful. This is the worst I've felt about sports in my life. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, like this is an Achilles tear. He's 39 years old. This might be it. He might retire. But what Rodgers said in his Instagram and what guys around the league are saying, and what Coach Saleh said, saying that he would be shocked if he retired, it seems like he's going to give it another go. But we'll see what happens with the rehab, and we'll see if, that's just speculation. But
the night is darkest before the dawn, and I shall rise yet again.
Yeah.
I'll say this. It's kind of half joking, half not. The way that team was pass protecting early, and even during the game, something might happen to him.
But
later
that's the
in
thing.
season.
Okay, but this is the thing, which makes it even more ridiculous and stupid Jets curse and this and that. Yes, the offensive line was a concern, and we talked about them over and over on this. He was going to get hit. No matter how good your offensive line is, you're going to take a couple nasty hits throughout the year. Every quarterback does. For him to take a hit and get hurt on the fourth snap of his career with the Jets is ridiculous. There is obviously some sort of devil character, or, Joe Namath shook hands with Satan himself.
Joe Namath might have to go 6 feet under.
Listen, I'm just saying.
He might.
If anybody sees Joe Namath on the street,
don't be afraid to push him.
Don't tell him I sent you. No, but really, like it's
no. There is I believe it. I do. I think. I mean, yes and no. I think there's something to being an inept organization, and I think there's just terrible luck.
Yeah,
Like that is
that's just terrible luck.
Terrible luck.
Terrible
And
luck.
didn't Rodgers apparently hate the
cut blocks,
the cut blocks,
and,
whatever
the cut
it was,
blocks and all that stuff. So I don't know. And then you look at the video, and he could have hit the guy on the. He could have hit Garrett Wilson on that.
He held the ball a little
too
too long.
open, and that was a problem for Rodgers apparently last year. He wasn't throwing down to the middle of the field enough, and was kind of making some mistakes. So, I mean, we could sit here all day and do the what if game. The only thing I will say now, your quarterback is Zach Wilson. The options are out there. You're going to need a backup. The Jets are going to get another quarterback. They're going to get a backup.
Yeah.
To me, I think the perfect option, and then you're going to have to trade for him, but I love Brissett. I really like Jacoby Brissett. Go look at his career numbers. He's got good career numbers. He's a guy who takes care of the football. He did a great job with the Browns last year, being a game manager and actually, making some plays and, winning them some games last year. I think he's a great option.
I think Brissett, I don't think you bring him in to be a backup. I think you bring him in to start. I think Brissett comes in here and starts.
No, you don't have to do that.
Not
the
the
Commanders
first
brought
week.
him in. They started Sam Howell. You don't need to bring him in to be a starter. He's been a backup his whole career. Let's just keep doing what he's doing.
I would like Brissett to start. Not obviously right away, like a couple of weeks from now.
Right.
But
all right, but okay. If you go into week 9 and the Jets they'll have their bye. So let's say the Jets are 3-5 going into week 9.
3-5.
What do you do? Zach's your starting quarterback. Are you saying, all right, let's ride it out with Zach?
No, at that point
Are
you
you
have
saying,
to.
let's go trade for somebody?
I think you need to trade for somebody right now.
Yeah.
Whether it's Brissett or it's a lower level.
But obviously, if you traded for a quarterback now, he wouldn't even start this week, obviously, with no preparation.
No,
but
you give Wilson the runway.
Right. And if Wilson fails, then you bring him in.
Right.
Right.
But they're not going to – I don't think they're going to trade for somebody that is worthy of starting. Like a Brissett, to me, as soon as he's ready, he's over Wilson in my mind. But I don't think they're going to bring in somebody where we say, oh – right now, I still think Wilson is ahead of him.
Also, let's keep in mind here, like, I'm not going to sit here and be a Zach Wilson truther because, like I said about 5 minutes ago, last year I was ready to kick him out of town, and he had an awful season.
He's pretty bad.
The guy's going into he's in his third year in the NFL now. He's now playing in a quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers. He had the whole offseason for that. And I think he also earned a little bit more respect of the locker room as he wasn't just looked at as, the kid who was just, he's like the chosen one kind of a thing. And he's just put in, here you go, Zach, here's the keys to the team. He was humbled. He's respected more in the locker room now, I think. I think his ego also, I think he matured because of this whole process. So I'm not telling you Zach Wilson's going to go out there and throw 35 touchdowns this year, but he could have an improved season from last year and be a competent quarterback.
He has a chance to do something pretty effing hysterical.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. Let's just leave it like that.
100%.
All right, let's flip it over, okay? Because Not that I was killed for the take that I made a couple of weeks ago, that I didn't think the Buffalo Bills were much of anything. And
Definitely raised some eyebrows.
I raised some eyebrows, but I didn't think the Bills were going to make the playoffs. And now I think that'll probably change with Rodgers being out.
Right.
But, man, did that team look bad. And can I say something? Because I think this goes unnoticed a little bit, and it's a credit to what Joe Douglas has done building the team. But specifically on the defensive side of the ball, do you not see, like, the way they built this defense?
Right.
The defense was built to stop one human being.
Right.
Josh Allen. And last season they beat him at home with Wilson.
Yep.
They should have beat him in Buffalo late in the season. And then they beat him last week.
Yep.
They've built this defense to stop one guy, and they've done it successfully. And if you could stop this guy with all his talent, you could probably stop most of the other quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, again, it's a credit to the way they've built this defense.
Yeah.
But this guy, Josh Allen, tries to play hero ball. He turns the ball over. He takes way too many hits.
He turns 100%. He turns the ball over a lot.
It's a problem.
This isn't like stop, you're just trying to pick a problem with Josh Allen. The guy has 39 turnovers in his last 17 games. That is a massive problem. Think about it. If I told you, you guys, your favorite football team's playing this weekend. Okay, you guys are guaranteed for at least 2 turnovers this game. You'd be like, well, that sucks. Like, well, I don't want to turn the ball over twice.
You got to win the turnover
battle. The quarterback's doing it more than 2 times a game over his last 17 games. So this is why I think that the Bills are never going to be able to win a Super Bowl as long as he keeps playing like this. And he's going to give the ball away in big moments. They can't keep relying on the passing game constantly, and for him to be their running back and this and that. Which, by the way, I know he's a big body guy, and he's less susceptible to injuries when he's running than some other quarterbacks. But the guy tried freaking hurdling a linebacker on like 3rd and 13.
He's a problem.
He tried hurdling a linebacker. He was by the way, he was like 5 yards away from the first down marker.
They got problems. And let me say this. Look at the division, right? A lot of times you like to build your team, again, like the Jets did. Like, they got to play Josh Allen and defeat Josh Allen. So you're going to build your team a little bit to stop certain guys. Bill's offensive line's not good. That New England defense, you see what they did to Jalen Hurts? Yeah. That New England defense is legit, and they're well coached, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Miami's got a little bit of a pass rush. Bradley Chubb, Christian Wilkins up the middle.
They freaking destroyed Herbert on that last play of the game.
I mean, and obviously the Jets have the best defense in the league.
Right.
How are we building this team, Buffalo? Right. You got this quarterback. You got this legit superstar when he's on and playing right, and you're not protecting him. Cook looked okay, but there's little to no running game.
And we talked about the problems with the health of the defense, too. If you got guys, Von Miller's already down. Micah Hyde's a guy who's dealt with some injury problems. If you got guys going down on this defense, you're in trouble.
It ain't good. And again, I think now with Rodgers being out, there's a chance they will get into the playoffs. I think another team's going to sneak in over them. But, like, come on, dude. Like, how are we not? Why? And people will on the national media will say, you're crazy. You're just, you're just on the, you're a hater.
Right, it's overreaction.
Right.
You're hating.
It's not an overreaction.
It's not an overreaction. We've seen this team fall short year after year. They almost lost to Skylar Thompson at home last year.
And their team is worse this season. Yeah. It is a worse football team.
They're not going to figure out the run game this year. James Cook might have a fun year in fantasy football.
He better.
He's not gonna. This is not going to be a team that you fear the run out of their running backs. Even the way they scheme,
you're gonna fear it with him.
The way they scheme runs too. Like, they're mostly a spread offense. They're not doing a lot of under center, and there's no sort of excitement in terms of the running plays that you're seeing out of this team, where you're getting a little more creative in a Niners style. Where we saw the Jets get creative last week and open up some holes and have some interesting runs and open up space for Breece Hall.
And for a guy that could put the ball anywhere, he stares down a receiver, man. Mostly Diggs. And there was a play in overtime when they got the ball first.
Yeah.
It was I forget exactly what the down. It was like 3rd and whatever, and it was just a quick throw to Diggs, and it was nowhere near. He was staring at Diggs. There's 2 guys on Diggs.
Yep. It's a problem. This is why I just don't think that he's ever going to get to the level of like Mahomes, and I think he might stoop under that level one day with Herbert and Burrow and them. He might create a new tier. But I know the guy's very talented. He's got all the arm strength in the world. He had a fantastic touchdown throw to Diggs. But games like that against great defenses are what's going to happen in the playoffs, and we've seen happen in the play. Josh Allen had some great playoff games. But listen, he hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl, which has been a problem with this team.
He might be Russell Westbrook.
Wow.
At his peak. Westbrook's
tough
peak,
to compare the sport.
Even
I mean,
he's
okay,
turning the ball over.
I'm gonna flip a little here for a second because I'm the one who always defends Rodgers and defends these other guys when I say we gotta relax with accounting for quarterbacks with the wins, with Super Bowls and this and that. Because
I'm not saying
look
win,
at the
though.
situation.
I'm
you're
not
in.
saying
but
win.
But right now we're talking about the Bills and we're talking about Allen from a team's perspective. We're not talking about if Josh Allen's MVP race. We're talking about what the problem is with this Bills football team and why are they not getting to the Super Bowl. And it's because of Allen's turnover problem. And it's not just because of that, but it plays a big part in it.
Yeah. Worried about the Bills. Absolutely worried about the Bills. We'll see what happens, though, because I think we'll talk about them in a little bit. Like, you tell me who's the team that slots in over the Jets? Might be an overreaction. I think it's Cleveland. I think it's Cleveland.
I'm still not on Cleveland.
Well, that'd be four.
Also,
that'd be 4 teams I would have in.
The Bengals always start out slow. That's like a known. That's like been a thing.
I'm not saying the Bengals aren't gonna.
No, but the Browns beat the Bengals. Like that. The Bengals have always say that 5 times. The Bengals.
Yeah, but the
sounds kind of weird.
But you know what? What they did to the Bengals. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about
stop smacking the freaking table, man.
Sorry,
Remember I told you that?
I know you did. You actually did tell me.
Little ticks, man.
Okay.
Do something else. Like I'll get you like a cushion or a pillow to hit or something.
You're gonna put a pillow on this. You're gonna put a pillow on this
sure,
table.
They won't mind.
Mind my coffee. Starbucks. By the way, Starbucks is coffee for the rich. I've noticed that. You know how much this coffee was? Like 6 something.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's a joke.
No free advertising, by the way.
Yeah, no free advertising. No, this is anti-advertising. Don't go to Starbucks.
You know why I'm a psychopath? I drink my coffee black. Straight black.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like a little mocha on it. Needed to spice it up a little bit.
Spice it up.
Not spice it up, but
Sweeten
like
it
take the
bitterness away.
Yeah, I'm like, I really couldn't do that tonight.
You're a little kid like that. You like hot chocolate and
I love hot chocolate, but I'm drinking coffee.
good for you. You
I've
got
grown.
about 8 pumps of chocolate syrup in there.
Yeah, and I was like, I said 1 pump. I was like, 1 pump. Because I wanted to wake up a little bit. So I'm like, give me 1 pump. Nope. So don't go. The baristas don't even listen to you.
Okay.
I mean, that's the problem right now. All right, let's move on here, though, to the other New York team. Well, the third New York team, or the second New Jersey team, whichever one you want to call it. The New York Giants. The New York football Giants who, crap themselves, embarrassed themselves on Sunday Night Football. And, we'll talk about the game a little bit, right? But, I mean, it's really going to be about, like, is this team, like, what does this mean for this team? What did that performance do for that team? So, to me, it was the worst football game I've seen in my entire life. And we played football. We played on a couple of bad teams. We've seen a lot of bad football, especially the two of us, right? Look up the teams that we root for. We've seen a lot of bad football. I don't think I've seen a worse played game in my entire life. And I do want to read the stat that I don't know if everybody saw, if I could just find it really quickly.
That whole thing about, like, in a season thing?
Yeah.
This is
so
ridiculous.
no team has ever lost 40-0 or worse, lost the sack battle 7-0 or worse, lost the turnover battle 3-0 or worse, had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, and threw a pick six in the same season. Okay?
Surely that couldn't have been done in one game.
No way the Giants could do that in one game.
Right.
Oh, no, they did. They did do that. You know what? Those are all insane stats. You know what the craziest one to me is?
What?
Dallas had 265 total yards of offense and won 40-0.
That's ridiculous.
To me, that is actually almost crazier than that.
Dak didn't do anything.
No, Dak didn't play good.
He didn't do but he didn't have to. He didn't have to do anything.
No, he didn't have to. I'm like, and we're looking on defense, and I'm like, oh, who had a good game on defense? I can't tell you who had a good game on defense.
Oh,
They're
no.
like a bunch of giant fan page posting, well, Deontay Banks played good. Really? How many times did Dak Prescott throw the ball?
Yeah, really. Lawrence, I guess, had a pretty.
I
saw him in the backfield a couple times.
Lawrence actually did have a good game, and you could tell he had a good game.
But I mean,
it was an embarrassment, and it starts with two places, right? Something we never thought we'd say. It starts with the coach, who clearly didn't have and the whole entire coaching staff. They didn't have their team prepared. That was number one. And number two, up front, that right side of the offensive line was killing their quarterback.
Yeah, it's. You don't want to overreact to week one, okay? We try. We always say we're not going to overreact to week one. I'm not going to come out here and say the Giants are going to get killed every week and they're about to win 3 games. But I think every Giants fan's expectations for this year were just humbled a bit. And I mean, how could they not be? You just lost 40-0. And by the way, this is after you're coming off a playoff loss to Philadelphia, who you weren't expecting to beat, but also pretty much wiped the floor with you.
Right. I mean, you're outscored, 78-7 in your last 2 games. That's not what you want.
No, in the famous words of Joe Girardi, not what you want.
I think a lot, and I wasn't one of those people. I had hope, sure, but I think a lot of Giant fans had crazy expectations for this season because you got to remember something. This isn't making an excuse for what happened on Sunday night. This isn't making an excuse in case this team wins 6 games. But you're in year 2 of a rebuild, technically, right? Because last year was year 1 under a new regime, and they surprised everybody. Now it's about taking the next steps, and we talked about it. Taking the next steps can be winning 8 games, becoming better, and not making the playoffs. That's still possible. But I think Giant fans took the expectations to a whole nother level and thinking, this is a playoff team, this is a playoff team. And I don't think they're there yet. And did Dallas not show it? And again, Dallas isn't that good. The Giants aren't that bad. But Dallas showed there is still a large talent gap between the Cowboys and the Giants.
I mean, you mentioned it before. This has to fall on the head coach, though. I mean,
it's everybody.
It's
everybody.
Okay, but Daboll needs to take a big chunk of responsibility for this.
And he did. He did.
But I know that he did. I'm just saying, the way the media and the way that you and Giants fans and everyone around the league treats Brian Daboll, did he do a great job last year? 100%. We weren't expecting the Giants to come close to the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs. They win a playoff game. We both agreed there was a little bit of luck involved there. The Vikings were one of the worst playoff teams, one of the most overrated teams in NFL history.
Sure.
They matched up great with them week 1, and then the first round of the playoffs, and then we talked about how they just got absolutely killed by the Eagles. There is a clear gap here, like you said, between the Giants and the top 2 teams in the NFC East still. That's obvious. But the way the Giants just came out completely unprepared, completely overmatched in that game, and the way that they just lost all sense of fight and hope so quickly needs to be addressed a little bit.
I think
that's got to fall on Daboll a little bit.
Sure,
come on.
It does have to fall on Daboll, but I also don't think Brian Daboll can do anything if his right tackle and right guard don't block anybody, and when you try and throw the football, you physically can't. JM,
but how sloppy was it? There were stupid penalties that they committed.
100%. That stuff's on the coach.
Drops, Saquon's drop. There was what's-his-face, Hodgins had a bad drop over the middle of the field.
I mean, it was. I don't want to sit here and make excuses.
Yes,
it was pouring rain all night.
But how many? I'm not going to rip on you because you say you don't want any excuses. But how many excuses are we going to make for them?
I think the excuses that kind of have to be made, like where you look and you say, well, this was happening. Again, I agree. The penalties, not looking prepared, looking defeated early on. That all is on the coaching staff, on Brian Daboll, falls on his shoulders. But I think another part of it is, the offensive line was not ready to go up against what is a great front, 100%. Not taking anything away from Dallas, but
that's got to be schemed. You're telling me they got up there and they said, "Oh my God, that's DeMarcus Lawrence, that's Micah Parsons. I didn't know they had these guys." You know what I mean? No, you knew Dallas has a great front.
Of course you did.
There was no sort of scheme that was any sort of creativity that could have countered that. It looked like Daniel Jones was just out there dropping back and running around, picking up rushing yards.
And the people blaming him, by the way,
the
Jesus
only thing that had some sort of sense in that game where the Giants looked somewhat positive was the first 5 minutes where they drove down the field and then they got their field goal blocked. But all those moments right before that, their offense was looking pretty solid.
But again, JM, they ran the ball a couple of times with Saquon, great. And I know it's pouring rain, whatever. And then they tried to drop back and pass. And Jones had to sprint out to the edges to get away from pressure. They couldn't block anybody. So you want to put that on coaching? Fine. I'm putting that on. Those guys up front weren't man enough to stop those guys. They were completely overmatched. And that was the problem in this game.
This is why I think I said you shouldn't overreact to week 1, but this is why I think that this Giants season could be headed for a dark place that we didn't project. I mean, I said they'd have anywhere from 7 to 10 wins. I think the possibility is they could dip below that now. When you look, come on, we're looking at this roster, right? The offensive side of the ball is not impressive. Saquon Barkley's an impressive guy, right? Getting up there in age a little bit, but we still expect Saquon to have some really good production. Darren Waller was your big shiny toy this offseason. He's already dealing with a hamstring injury, which, by the way, is the same exact injury he had last season, which is a gigantic red flag. I mean, that is awful to
And
hear
it's a
that
nerve
coming out
issue
of
in
week
the-
one.
in the
It's
hamstring.
just that is not going to end up well. And Daniel Jones does not have the weapons around him, but I also think that this is going to be like kind of Daniel Jones is going to keep getting a free pass and a free pass. You know me, I don't believe in Jones. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think that this year it's just going to he's going to have the same year at the most that he had last year. I think that's what you're looking at for Daniel Jones. There's going to be no step taken out of Daniel Jones.
I think we're overreacting a ton to week one. I do think the coaching staff, we got to. Are they going to resort back to the mean? Right? Was the average what they were last season? I don't know. Either you're playing better opponents. I think the coaching staff
they outperformed what they should have been last year.
I think the coaching staff will get better. I think that was an aberration what we saw last weekend.
Yes, they're not going to lose 40-0. They're not going to be that outmatched.
Maybe the offensive line is a bigger issue than we thought. Because, again, I never thought the offensive line was a strength, but I didn't think it would cost them a game like it did, especially in week one.
Right.
I thought they'd scheme better for it like they did last season. The offensive line was not good last season. They actually, thought they would have been improved this season. So the offensive line's not going to be that bad, right? As long, God willing, everybody stays healthy. I think they'll kind of come back to what they're supposed to be. So I'm not saying this is going to, again, I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team, but I'm not there yet to say, oh, they're going to drop below kind of what we thought. I'm not there to say, well, you know what, Jones isn't going to take that next step. I don't know what he's going to do.
Right. I mean, I get it. It's week one.
It's week one.
The thing that irks me and I need to talk to you about and yell at you a little bit about is this whole BS Robert Saleh versus Brian Daboll thing. Everybody was giving Brian Daboll flowers this offseason, saying he's this fantastic head coach. What a great job he did last year, blah, blah, blah. Robert Saleh, who I've came and defended constantly, saying, look what he did with this team. Everybody loves to play for him. He took a defense, made it an elite defense, and blah, 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 blah. Robert Saleh just had his franchise icon go down 4 snaps into the game, and he had his backup bust quarterback come in the game, and they won against the Buffalo Bills, which is a huge, in a prime time scenario also. Brian Daboll has his team get absolutely embarrassed, look so underprepared against the Dallas Cowboys, who are your division rival. You're at home. It's a primetime game, the eve of 9/11, and you just get absolutely destroyed. And, like, this is why I said to you, I'm like, you love Brian Daboll, blah, blah, blah. But then I said, listen, you said the same thing about Joe Judge. Like, why are we just so quick to, with these head coaches, just be like, oh, coach of the year, he's a great coach. Here
Well,
you
first
go.
off, Daboll won coach of the year. Judge didn't.
No,
Second of
saying,
all,
look at Doug Peterson, the guy who we thought was a phenomenal head coach. Then the Eagles were ready to run him out of town. You know, he did all that stuff where he started Nate Sudfeld week 17 or whatever, and it was just an embarrassing leave, and we thought Doug Peterson was a terrible head coach. Now we all think Doug Peterson's a good head coach again.
yeah, I mean, I think Doug Peterson was probably a good head coach then.
No, but I'm saying, like, the way that we view these coaches is ridiculous. Where we just anoint a coach as a great coach, and we anoint which, by the way, the Saleh stuff there was no reasoning. It was just like, oh, he's not authentic. He's not genuine.
Oh,
I'm sure he was putting on a front when he went and tackled his punt returner as the Jets won the game the other day. That was just for the cameras.
Well, I didn't like the way he presented himself in Hard Knocks. I think it was a little corny. But either way,
All right, let's have someone follow you with a camera.
You want to go?
Day.
You want to go? I love that. You want to go? You want to compare them? Let's compare them. I think last season, Daboll. Again, we talk so much about it. So much with little, right? That roster was terrible last season. And by the way, I'm going to kind of give you a win here. The way the national media covers Daboll, I think, is absolutely insane, because they really do give him like, oh, well, you know, the Giants are going to be they're going to be good because of Daboll. And like the way they treat him and respect him is, I think, a little bit over the top. Like, I like Daboll. I think he's going to be a really good coach. I think it's a little over the top. But look at what he did last season with absolutely nothing, right? And don't remember this. Last season, in the middle of the year, they started to lose some games. Guys got injured. Wasn't looking great. and they found a way to respond, win a couple of games late, get to the playoffs, and win a playoff game.
Yeah, but they had...
Hold on. Robert Saleh last season, right, in year 2, in a year that they were kind of, supposed to compete, right? The Jets were supposed to compete last season a little bit. Got off to a great start. What were they, 5-2?
Yeah.
6-2?
5-2.
Lose the last, 7 games of the year? Looked absolutely inept.
Yeah.
Handled a quarterback situation. Him and Douglas, I think, for a while handled it bad, and it got bad. But I think part of the reason was the way the coach and the GM handled it. He had a hand in the season being blown last
Mike
year.
White was going to be the guy from that point forward, and he got hurt. I mean, at that point, it's like, crap, Mike White's down, and so your options
When did
now
Mike
are,
White get hurt, though? After the Vikings game?
Yes, and then I believe he played in the Buffalo game, and he got hurt even more that game. Or I think he hurt his ribs or something like that.
Right, he hurt his ribs in the Bill game.
But this thing with the Giants, like, I am going to overreact a little bit from week 1 because what did we see this offseason? Like, they didn't really do much except get Waller, right? The roster.
Dude.
You got Paris Campbell, and you
want me to
drafted
go
Deontay
over,
Banks.
You want me to go over the ton of changes that they had? And by the way, you want to talk about problems they had week 1? They had a lot of new guys playing with each other. Tough to gel in the pouring rain prime time against a really, really good team. The amount of new guys they have playing with each other on this team this year, definitely.
Yeah, but they're not good new guys.
Oh,
they're not. Remember, look at the roster.
Bobby Okereke's not good.
No, he's good.
Deontay Banks, a rookie corner.
You cannot look at this roster and be like, they're a playoff contender.
No, I don't think that.
Or even they're not gonna. They're not even. They might not even be the third best team in this division.
I don't think. You're going all over the place here. I think that when you look at the team, they brought in new players, whether they're average players, mid players, young players, or good players, high-level players. They are new guys playing with each other, okay? It is unquestionably a more talented roster this season than it was in the past season, okay? It's year 2 in a new offensive system for a lot of these guys, year 1 for the new guys. So, listen, I get why you didn't believe they were going to be a playoff team. I understand sort of why people thought they could compete for the playoffs. Obviously, my train of thought was they'd compete, not make it. But I think that's completely unfair for you to say, oh, look at them. They're not a playoff team.
On paper, they're not. They're a team that overachieved last year. To me, the Giants have maybe this is tough to do off the top of my head, but I'd say they have the 20th best roster in the NFL.
To say that
they are not a top half of the league in terms of roster.
To say they didn't improve from last season is showing that you don't know the Giants. That's what you just said.
Every team improves from the previous season, besides like the Arizona Cardinals. That's what we think on paper. Everybody looks a little better on paper.
No, they
the year
improved
after.
their roster. And again, it shows how bad the roster last season to say they improved their roster in a pretty big time way compared to last season. That is
what is
no
the big
joke.
time way? You still have no wide receivers. The defense is still sketchy in the secondary. I mean, what major improvements did you make besides at the tight end position?
You added the tight end.
Linebacker.
You added
a solid linebacker. Bobby Okereke is a top 30 linebacker in the league.
That was a
you didn't get
major
Bobby Wagner.
That was a major problem last season. Some reasons why they lost a bunch of games, okay? They lost a lot of games because they didn't have a functional linebacker. They had Jalen Smith, who they picked up off the practice squad starting the playoffs.
None of these moves are like moving the needle, though. And now you're dealing with this stuff with Waller getting hurt already.
But they didn't. Like, if they would have just, again, you improved the roster. If they stayed the same, 8-9 wins, like that's what the expectation was.
I think the Giants have, with this Daniel Jones contract and the way that they've handled the personnel on this team, I think they've kind of cornered themselves in to a we're stuck at mid situation. That's what I think they've done. And it starts at the quarterback.
They can get away from the quarterback in a year and a half if they want, 2 years if they want to. They can get out of the quarterback's contract in 2 years.
Easier said than done. I mean, now
it's not. They guaranteed they're done after 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying who knows what they're going to look like in 2 years. And
hopefully who knows the rosters
who knows going through
built.
A quarterback change at that point that they'd want to even keep Daboll.
Who knows? I hope we don't get there. I don't think we're going to get there. I really don't. And I think the Giants will show enough this year to definitely keep it. We can't be Come on. That's the complete overreaction that I've seen on Twitter the past couple of days, and I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way that this season is going to end up so terribly that Daboll is being considered.
That's what you said about Joe Judge, though. Joe Judge was like, we got the guy. Like, Joe Judge is the guy. And then the second year, it didn't even take until week 18 to get to that point. It was like by week 11, like the locker room was gone. It was just a...
Yes, but the problem was Judge lost the locker room. This guy... At least from what you hear,
wouldn't have said that.
From what you hear, these guys love playing for him. Absolutely adore playing for Brian Daboll. So,
which I believe. I'm not saying he's a phony. I'm just saying to just jump the gun on Daboll like the Giants have done and like the media has done, and just to assume that this team is just going to take a step forward and Daniel Jones is going to be great this year.
I don't think it was the media that jumped the gun on Judge. I think it was fans that jumped the gun on Judge, including myself.
Talking about Judge or Daboll?
Judge.
I'm talking about Daboll.
I know. You're saying the media jumped the gun on.
I said the media is jumping the gun on
like
Daboll.
They did with the other coaches. I think it was more the fans with Judge. I think everybody's on board with Daboll, and I think there's a reason why everybody's on board with Daboll. I think there's a reason why other coaches respect Daboll. I think there's a reason why former coaches say that's a pretty damn good coach. I think there's enough conviction within people around the league to say, oh, this guy's a really good coach. Players that have played for him, damn, that's a good coach. Gronkowski saying, that's a guy I'd come out of retirement for. Those speak volume.
Answer me this. If the Jets got blown out 40-0, what would you have said about Robert Saleh? Because you love to find opportunities to rip on Robert Saleh.
What was in the way...
If the Jets lost to the Bills...
With Rodgers down?
With Rodgers down, if they lost 40-0.
I wouldn't have said anything about Saleh. I wouldn't have said anything about Saleh. No. Not with that happening. There's nothing he can do.
I think you would. But.
I think he's got a really good chance to prove a lot of people wrong, including myself right now. If they were able to really salvage this thing and win 8-9 games, he's got a chance to save himself. I don't even think it would be fair if they won 5 games and to let him go. I don't think that would be fair. We got to move on, though. That's a lot of time on the 3 New York teams because we got a little bit more to talk about. The AFC North. Let's run through them quickly because the Bengals, your boy Joe Burr did not...
not great.
Yeah, I really liked the Browns in this game, and it went my way. Should have put it on my star picks. I didn't. Yeah. What's the update there? We're tied, right?
You're 2-1. I'm 1-2.
But we have the same. We'll talk about that in the gambling show anyway. But Bengals.
Michael's punching the table
in Cleveland.
Right.
Not good, and the rain was terrible, and Watson looked bad. But I think this was, and we saw it last season as well when Burrow went to Pittsburgh. He didn't play really well, and he didn't have a training camp, and he didn't play in preseason. And the same thing happened here where they just didn't play well, and Cleveland looked really good. Right. And Cleveland's really good up front on both sides of the ball.
They are.
Really good.
They are. There's not much to be talked about in terms of worry about the Bengals here.
Not at all.
This is, like you said, Burrow's done this before. He's missed training camp before. This has happened. They're known for starting off slow. I remember the Jets had the Bengals week 3 last year. Coming into that game, it was like, oh, is this a down year for Cincinnati after losing in the Super Bowl the year before?
What was the score in that game?
And they I don't remember the exact score. I could tell you that they scored at least 3 or 4 touchdowns against us. It was not, down to the wire by any means.
Wasn't pretty.
I want to say 31-13 or something like that. But that's it. Like the Bengals, they're gonna be fine. There's no reason to overreact. It's week 1. It's on the road. It's Joe Burrow against the Browns, which for some reason has been a problem.
He does not beat them.
I don't know what it is.
He does not beat them.
But they're gonna be just fine. And Cleveland, I'm still not confident about the quarterback. We'll see. He's got the talent, obviously. I just don't know if he could rekindle that talent. I mean, the guy's obviously gone through a bunch of stuff, and maybe sometimes it's me being biased rooting against the guy, but I don't really see it for Watson this year. But this division is going to be an absolute dogfight.
I want to see it this weekend. It's a very interesting game Monday night in Pittsburgh. I want to see what he does there. Hopefully the weather's good. We can get a real read on him because there were a couple of throws that he made. I hope the ball slipped out of his hand or something, or he slipped or whatever, because there were some really ugly throws. But I'm a fan of this Browns team. I kind of wanted to put them in the playoffs, and I didn't, and I kind of just held them off at 9-8. But I think with the playoffs spot possibly opening up, I think it's a team that can definitely jump in there. Again, they're great up front. Right up front. It's going to come down to the quarterback. Myles Garrett is an absolute.
Did you see that thing? That crossover that was really
unreal.
Cool.
He's unreal.
Who's the best pass rusher in this division? Because Watt is ridiculous.
Yeah, I probably get. It's tough because
I think you have to give it to Watt.
I think you give it to Watt too, but it almost feels like they're two different guys because like Watt doesn't like Watt's obviously intimidating looking, but like Garrett doesn't look like a human being. Right. Like
Watt's also I think considered like an outside linebacker, and Garrett's a D end because he's got that more athletic build.
He's big. He's huge. Yeah. Steelers, my 3-star pick last weekend. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that worked out. Not great.
I mean, so uncharacteristic of this team and of Mike Tomlin to not have his team ready. They might have, there were discussions about whether or not they should let go of Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, and they kept him. Jesus Christ, were they unpredictable? They were so predictable, predictable against the 49ers. And again, I couldn't believe it. And they obviously couldn't stop a lick. Purdy. I think Purdy's proven everybody wrong. If we're going to do a week 1 overreaction, it's 49ers are going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah. One thing I will say, did you see this thing about Pickett getting possibly hurt? You see that video? Apparently Pickett got slammed into the ground early in the game. Too. Yeah, and he hit his head, and it was like he obviously had something wrong with him. So I don't know if Kenny Pickett was seeing 22 players on the defense instead of 11. I don't know what happened. But
Pickett's on the sideline.
I think that this could obviously – I think the Steelers are obviously one of those teams that could be just week after week better and better. The young quarterback, we always talk about quarterbacks sort of having 2 different seasons and in one season. That's what we saw with Lawrence last year. The first half kind of seemed like its own season, and the second half seemed like its own season. And that's another guy, Kenny Pickett, who's in his second year now, just like Lawrence was last year. So Kenny Pickett is not going to turn to Trevor Lawrence, by the way. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think he's going to have a solid year. I still believe in the Steelers team. I think it would be an overreaction to say that, they're going to suck.
No.
But I think one of the slightly, less overreactions here is I think the Niners, like you said, might be pretty good.
Yeah, and we're going to talk.
We know the roster's great, right? We talked about that. Me and you were a little down on them. We did our prediction show, and we talked about them, said we were a little down on them. Why do I say I'm down on them? It's because of the quarterback, and it's because of the interior offensive line. We'll see for Brock Purdy. I don't know if he's going to get – I'm still waiting for that game for Brock Purdy to really get challenged and get exposed a little bit.
You would think it would have happened against Mike Tomlin week 1. I mean, coming off a big injury.
Yeah.
You would have thought that would have been the spot.
And I was waiting to see it happen last year in that Philadelphia game, but obviously Purdy got hurt in the beginning of the game, and the rest was history.
Eagles got bailed once again.
You drinking just straight syrup now, or what's?
Yeah, it tastes really good. It's like my dessert now.
No.
Eagles got bailed just like they did against the Patriots this week.
Right,
It's all they
do.
Yep. It's all they know how to do.
That's Giants fan coping. Listen, you're a closeted Eagles fan. We all know it. You don't have to pretend here and put on a front for everybody.
Just because I picked the Dallas Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, people think I'm a closeted Cowboys fan now too. Yeah. Listen, it's difficult being correct a lot. Okay, it really is, and the fact that I was just nail on the head.
Good thing you don't have to deal with that. Yeah.
Home run with the Dallas Cowboys and how great they're going to be. I mean, come on. I'm sorry, Giant fans. Like, it sucks that they're in our division. The Ravens, just very quickly to round out the AFC North.
Yeah.
Didn't slam it. They were sloppy, but they won. And there's really not much I have to say about them other than Zay Flowers is going to be a really damn good football player.
They were my 3-star pick. Thank God that I got something right last week.
That didn't look good for a long time.
It was a little scary at one point, but I held in there.
Almost an 0-3 week.
The obvious thing here, Dobbins is out, and I feel awful for the guy. I mean, he's a great talent, and it was like you had to laugh. You had to just be like, I can't believe this poor guy. He really got hurt.
You know what I laughed at? Raheem Mostert's he didn't practice today.
Oh,
knee injury.
Really?
I laughed out loud.
I got Devon A-Chain in fantasy.
I legitimately laughed out loud. I'm like, there's no effing way. It's like every week, 2 or 3, this guy, bang, he's hurt. It's kind of unreal.
But Lamar looked a little sloppy. kind of a surprise. We always talk about the Ravens always come out flying out of the gate, kind of like the opposite of the Bengals. Lamar, you said he's going to look like the MVP the first 4 weeks of the season. I think it might be the opposite now, where you got this new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. It's going to take this team a little while to gel, and Mark Andrews did not play, which is a big factor, right? Two best tight ends in the league didn't play.
Did Odell have a catch? I mean, I know he forced like 2 pass interferences.
I don't think he had a catch. Think he had a catch. He might have had 1 catch.
He was active. I know there were 2 pass interferences.
He had 2 catches for 37 yards.
Yeah, so he's pretty good. That's my boy Odell.
That's not your boy.
But
I hated him.
Yeah, let's move on to here.
Another guy that your fan base has just flipped around on that you couldn't wait to kick out the door, and now everybody loves him.
I could like him now. We're past the point now. Okay. But anyway, let's move on. We were talking about the 49ers. Let's get to the Dolphins here. Because they looked pretty damn good against the Chargers.
Yeah, you must have felt pretty good about your division winner pick.
You know what? I don't want to say it, but I got a lot of hate for that too. You have the Dolphins winning. No. Again, it's difficult being right all the time, but that offense again, like we mentioned before the season, Tua is an elite quarterback when he's healthy.
Yeah,
elite.
Yeah, no, he's a top 10 quarterback when he's healthy. First of all, that throw to Tyreek Hill on that fade was crazy. And the throw on the run down the field, it was amazing.
Near the sideline, right?
Yeah,
rolling
fantastic.
out to his
running straight. No, running like when he was running straight through the pocket broke, and he ran straight and threw that little wheel route to Tyreek Hill or whatever that route was. You got to know what I'm talking about here. It was all over.
Oh, yes, right. I do. Yeah. But I'm talking about something different.
Okay.
To Smythe, I think it was.
But what do we keep saying about this team, though? Is Tua going to stay healthy? That's the big thing. That's what we worry about the most with this team. And there's no predicting injury. And, I'm not going to sit here and criticize team for having quarterback injuries, as I'm currently in a depressed state over that. But fully healthy, this team is a playoff team. Are we anticipating Tua Tagovailoa playing 17 games this year?
If he does,
that's the big question.
If he does, they can win the damn Super Bowl. They can win. They're that good. They can win the Super Bowl. They can win the Super Bowl if he stays healthy.
No, I don't think they can. I'm not sold on this defense still. The offense is phenomenal. Great offense.
The offense is something, frankly, I don't know if we've ever seen before. I don't know if we've ever seen.
Well, we've never seen the speed from 2 receivers on the outside like that before. 100%. Is it the best offense we've seen in years? No.
No.
It's not. It might not even be the best offense in the league. It's week 1.
Right, but the one thing that can take down some of these elite teams, when we talk about, the Chiefs are just this indestructible force. Hill and Waddle and Tua can take them down. They could completely break a game no matter where you are, when you are. They can break a game open. They are a scary team.
I'm not there yet with them. They are terrifying on offense. They are.
They're good.
No,
they're good.
Just because of this one game, those question marks are still there with health and with Tua's health. Well, I know you can't predict injuries, but
I don't want to predict injuries. I don't want to sit here and predict injuries.
This is a problem with this guy in his career. And
it is.
If he takes a bad hit, what's going to happen?
But he is freaking good, man.
He's a great quarterback. He really is. He deserves more praise than what he gets.
Does.
He was a guy who had a lot of negative energy around him coming into the draft. They're worried about his hip and this and that. Then he comes into the league, and the joke started of Tua turned the ball over was his name, and he had a rough rookie year and got benched for Fitzpatrick. Came back in, got benched again. It seemed
but he wins.
But then they get Mike McDaniel. He comes over, turns this offense into a great offense with Tyreek Hill coming over from Kansas City. And, this isn't just Tua just dumping the ball off to Tyreek Hill and saying, go run wild. He's one of the biggest things that Tua's doing and kind of breaking the narrative on is he's a great deep passer.
Mm-hmm. You see the interview today? Somebody said, what do you think of the critics that still don't think you could throw the ball deep? And he was like, I don't care about the critics. I don't care about the critics. And he goes, 466. Tell him to go watch the game last week. And he's 100% right. He has just completely broken that stigma. And I think...
I was just going to say about... keep going. But I was gonna say Justin Herbert, like the poor guy. I just feel like he's always playing from behind and always gets the short end of the stick.
He's playing from behind, and
he gets destroyed on the last play of the game.
He has a bad coach. Okay, a bad head coach. Yeah. A team that just continue. They're also another cursed franchise because they just continue to make stupid mistake after stupid mistake. The difference in the game was 2 points. Do you know how you were watching game Sunday? You see the field goal right before half?
Yeah. Oh, terrible.
J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson is one of the worst free agent signings in the past 5 years. He might be the worst.
He's a product of
New
New England's defense.
He was absolutely horrendous last season. Got hurt, which saved his ass from having like an awful year. Comes back.
Terrible pass interference.
Game.
I mean, like a terrible pass interference.
Yeah.
And listen,
unnecessary too.
Unnecessary.
He didn't have to do that.
He could have just. There were 3 guys around. Whoever the receiver was, right before the half, there were like 0 seconds left. Tua just had the ball by midfield. Pass interference, bang. Jason Sanders 50-yard field goal. Yep. They take the lead at half, and that ends up being the difference in the game. So people want to say, "Oh, well, Herbert's overrated. Herbert's overrated." Like, you know what? Yeah, sure. We may have thrown Herbert to this, completely different level than maybe he was rushed there. But, man, does he not have a lot going right around him. And he's dealt with injuries up front, bad offensive lines. He's dealt with injuries to his weapons on the outside, dealing with a bozo of a head coach before Staley. I think Staley's a bozo. Yeah. It hasn't been. So we want to talk about Herbert, but he hasn't had everything go right for him in his career.
I'm drawing a blank. Anthony Lynn. That was
Anthony Lynn.
Right, yeah.
Terrible. All right. A team that both of us are very high on. Before we switch over to the Packers and Bears, team where both of us we were high on, Seattle Seahawks. And I might sound like a hypocrite, and I might overreact. This might sound like an overreaction, and it might be, but the problems that I think we thought they could have possibly had, because again, I didn't think the Giants had Super Bowl aspirations or serious playoff team. I think we both thought Seattle was a serious playoff team. That's, I think, the difference between the Giants and the Seahawks here. Right. So I shouldn't be called a hypocrite, although you could possibly. Seattle's problems up front on both sides of the football, which were kind of like one of the reasons why we couldn't push them really over the edge, really showed up. They dealt with an injury up front already. They lost their right tackle. They just signed Jason Peters. They don't have a pass rush, and they get embarrassed at home by the Rams, who had a bunch of nobodies catching the football, a bunch of nobodies on defense. And Matthew Stafford played a great game.
I mean, anytime your quarterback says, "Oh my God," as a defensive lineman is running at him, which listen, I'd probably say the same thing if Aaron Donald was running full sprint at me, but
you just fall down.
Not worried. That's my reaction to the game.
I'm worried.
Not worried at all about the Seahawks.
I'm very worried.
Yes, they had 95 passing yards as a team, and the Rams had 334. That's a problem. But it's one game.
Know what you want.
It's one game. It's a divisional game. Who knows? The Rams could be sneaky good this year. There's. It's why we love to sit here and try and predict and say how the season's going to go and this and that. It's so impossible to do it, and you never see it coming. But the Rams could win 10 games this year. We have no idea.
The Rams.
They looked good.
They did look good. I think, again, I know their offensive line we talked about is not very good, but they played a bad front, so we don't really know how that. We'll see how they are against San Francisco.
Use those 2 running backs a lot. Akers got a lot of touches, but so did Kyren Williams. Was surprised by that.
Kyren Williams looked better than Akers.
I was surprised by that. You got Puku Naku. God, I can't even.
I'm not going
to try and say the name.
I like my boy Tutu Atwell.
But
6 catches, 119 yards. Added him right before the game started.
But he kind of played that Cooper Kupp role, Puku, and he did a good job. And listen, I think that's why Cooper Kupp is great, but it's we all know you could. He's not the most talented receiver in the NFL, even when he puts up those Triple Crown numbers. He's a top 10 receiver in the league. He's a very good receiver.
Yeah.
But you put Justin Jefferson on the Rams, and he's going to do the same exact thing.
And by the way, Stafford looked really good in that game, and a lot of people, including I guess ourselves, kind of wrote him off. A lot of teams called about him in the offseason. The Jets called about him. He looked really damn good in that game, and he's still got a lot left in him. And I think I might like them this weekend against the 49ers to cover. We'll see. We'll see. Vikings, embarrassing game. I'm not really going to talk about that much. We do want to talk about, though, the Packers and the Bears.
Yes.
Because we both were proven right in that game.
Fields played what the hell?
High school defense.
Yeah.
Like, to even think that team was sniffing the postseason,
Yeah.
this is not an overreaction, guys. This is oh my God, we are terrible. And it's so funny to watch Bears fans realize, holy crap, we are bad.
Right. Now, listen. Don't let the high five confuse you. We're not going to sit here and, I have nothing personal against Justin Fields. I'm not going to be a generational hater here.
I might be.
But the reason why the hate is so driven up is because of the praise that this guy got for no reason, and it pisses you off. You're like, why are we just anointing this guy as a top 100 player in the NFL and as this great quarterback, an MVP candidate, and blah, blah, blah? The only thing I liked about Justin Fields this year was I wanted him in fantasy football because the guy can run the hell out of the ball. That's it. You look at him play quarterback, he's got great escapability. He had some phenomenal escape plays last week, just doing a great job keeping plays alive, getting first downs. The guy's not an accurate thrower of the football. He panics when pressure comes his way. I mean, if I play Justin Fields, I would do 5-man coverage, send 6 guys every single play. The guy just seems to absolutely poop his pants every time somebody runs at him. So Chase Claypool might be the worst football player I've ever seen run on a field before.
That compilation is something else.
I mean, what the hell is that? He's gonna be he might be a healthy scratch. They said he might be a healthy scratch this week.
Doesn't want to be out there. This guy, Ryan Poles, was brought in, young GM from Kansas City. I read up on him because I thought the Giants could have hired him before they hired Shane. This guy was praised. I mean, he was going to save the franchise. And we talk about all the bad moves he's made. Letting Roquan Smith go for basically nothing and bringing in Edmonds and paying him all this money and trading what was literally a first-round pick because the Dolphins didn't have a pick last season. It ended up being a first-round pick, the 32nd overall pick for Chase Claypool. Just an absolute dumpster fire over there in Chicago. And, I saw on the national media today, I forget who posted it, but somebody's going to have to start answering questions. Somebody's going to have to start taking the blame because there were expectations to at least take a step. And if they don't do that, it's to be the coach or the quarterback, and we're going to have to see
and
what
Roquan
happens.
Smith is a pretty damn good football player that I'm sure they're missing right now.
By the way, the Ravens are a fantastic organization. What did they do the second he got there? Gave him the extension that he wanted, and rightfully so. Just very quickly, because, going forward now, the Packers are going to play in Atlanta this weekend, and I think the Packers are being a little overvalued here because, again, they played a terrible, terrible defense. Love is good. I liked, what we saw from Love in the offense. But I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit. I still think this is probably going to be a playoff team. But pump the brakes a little bit.
Right.
Let's see it a little more.
Also, no Watson, which is on the contrary. Something to be excited about for the Packers.
I do want to pump the brakes a little bit.
Now, one thing I will say about Love that I really loved, no pun intended, was that first touchdown he had was, I think, something that was very promising. Where anytime you see a quarterback where his first read isn't open and the pocket's starting to close in on him, and he still he steps up in the pocket, still keeps his eyes downfield, and throws the strike to Romeo Doubs. I'm never going to get that right.
It was impressive.
It really was.
Yeah, no.
And Aaron Jones looked great. Now he limped with that hamstring a little bit. I think he's fine. He should be able to play week 2.
Saved my fantasy. But beat you in fantasy.
Yeah.
Literally, he beat you.
I would have beat you if Tony Pollard got that third touchdown, but they had to pitch it to Cavante.
Probably would have beat me if the Giants didn't go down 40-0.
Yeah.
If it was a normal game for Tony Pollard, you
they
probably
took him
would
out.
have beat me.
I also was shocked they had him in the game with 12
with the
minutes
second
left.
touchdown, because I turned the game off. We played each other in fantasy, and I won by 4. And I turned the game off in the second quarter. But when you were texting me and I saw he scored, I'm like, he's still in the game?
Yeah.
What the frick are we doing? Come on, get him out. Save. It's raining. It's pouring. Just like it should have done with Jones.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to get my picks for this week. I still don't have those yet. Still not logged
after this.
No, I know. I'm just searching here. I'm just searching. Just quickly for week 2, before we get to a little baseball. We got a Thursday night game tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like the Vikings center is not going to play. Christian Darrisaw, their tackle, may not play. Okay, they got a couple other injuries too at key positions. I mean, what is going to happen? What are we doing to Kirk, man? Come on, dude.
Are we allowed to bet Thursday night games for the star picks?
No, we do
we're
no
not, 'cause
Thursdays.
It comes out after Thursday. If this was, this would be my 3-star pick. The Eagles are going to kill them. I mean, they're going to kill them.
It ain't going to be good.
And this is... We saw what happened last year when the Vikings came to Philly in a primetime game. It's going to be the same thing again. Kirk's going to struggle a lot. Justin Jefferson, I'm sure, will have a nice day. Kind of like we saw last week. This defense might give up 45 points. It's bad.
And listen, Philly didn't look good last week. They really didn't. They struggled against that New England defense, but I think this is going to be a nice bounce back.
By the way,
spot
talking
for
about the
them.
Vikings, it's funny the way NFL careers kind of progress. Baker Mayfield now has become like a underdog, like you kind of root for him story, in my eyes at least.
A little bit.
Like you kind of like, all right, the guy lost everything basically, so now
He
you're just
almost
like
everything. I mean,
he was the first overall pick for the Browns. He was supposed to be their savior, and then he leaves. They find a new quarterback. He goes to Carolina, then to L.A., and now he's in Tampa. Like he's been all over the freaking place.
Smart fans realize it wasn't a good choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
This guy.
Not many great games this weekend. Not gonna lie.
Not at all. No.
Not feeling
Jets
it.
Cowboys was supposed to be the best game of the week.
That would have been a great game. Still don't mind the Jets this weekend.
No,
I
I don't
think so.
either. But
We got the 2 Monday night games.
I'm never gonna get over this, aren't I?
You're not. You're not going to get over it. We had the 2 Monday night games. Interesting Sunday night game. We'll talk about that in another little episode we do. But, yeah, the games are not.
The foreshadowing that you do is ridiculous.
Yeah. I just got to say this right now before we kind of move on here. I really like the Patriots this year. Like, I saw a lot in that week 1 game.
Stop.
And
Stop.
I mean,
stop. Please stop.
Well,
What did you see? What did you see in that week 1 game? Yeah, sure, they played a nice second half.
Well,
That's what the Patriots are. That's why we picked them to go 7-10.
Well, they added 2 more
Because
wins.
they're
They added
be-
2 more wins to their schedule after what happened over the weekend on Monday.
I literally said this when I was leaving MetLife Stadium. I said to my friends, guys, everybody talks about the first 6 weeks of the season. I am least confident against the Patriots now.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I said, we are playing the defending Super Bowl champion.
I feel better
and
in
the
that
defending
game.
NFC champion. I feel better in those 2 games than Zach Wilson against the Patriots.
Oh, it's going to be brutal. They're going to kill him.
No.
So they did add 2 wins there. So we'll see.
We're not going to be able to score. It's going to be like last year. We're going to score 3 points. Bill Belichick just knows how to get in this guy's freaking head.
Last 10 minutes here. Let's do some baseball quick. We'll start. I'll just kind of do this here. The Mets signed David Stearns to be their president of baseball operations. Listen, this is a guy that Steve Cohen wanted for literally 2 years, and Steve Cohen did not hire a president of baseball operations for 2 years to wait for this guy's contract to run up with Milwaukee. He wanted to be here. He grew up a Met fan. He's from New York. He's 38 years old. The move is being compared to, what the Dodgers did with Andrew Friedman, who was the best executive in baseball. Came from a small market, did a lot with a little, and Stearns did the same thing in Milwaukee, and now he's coming to a big market team. They think he's going to have the same impact Friedman had with the Dodgers. JM's shaking his head no, although he told me before he didn't know anything about David Stearns.
No, I was saying that I don't know if Andrew Friedman is the best executive in the game. I'd probably give that to Anthopoulos. How the hell did you say his name? The
I would go.
Braves
I would
guy?
go Friedman over him. Still, I'd say Andrew Friedman's better executive.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Look at all the trades the Braves have made, the guys that they have locked up for the next 8 years. They have a freaking dynasty, and they're the best team in baseball.
All right,
now.
maybe
Come
I'm
on.
wrong. Maybe it's 1A,
Smarten
1B.
up.
Maybe it's 1A, 1B. The guy that
No,
actually
it's not.
runs the Astros now, Dana Brown, he was a big part of the Braves building up the way. He was like I forget what position he held, but he was a big part of the way the Braves built this team too. Now he's with the Astros, so have fun with that in the AL. But yeah, I'm really happy about this. Another Met fan running the team. Cohen wanted his guy, he got him. I mean, there's really nothing else.
So now, like, Billy Epler's just, like,
the GM.
demoted.
Technically demoted, yes. I don't know how it works. Like, I don't really
Yeah, it's
know
weird.
exactly how it works. They're friendly. They're friends. They're good friends.
Okay. How's that going to work in the workplace when
I don't
David
really-
Stearns wants one
I don't
guy
really give a
and
rat's
Epler
ass.
says the other?
David Stearns. It's David
Right.
Stearns.
He's got the final say.
Whoever David Stearns wants to do, I want to do, okay?
Actually, whatever Steve Cohen wants to do is what happens. I
Well,
think that's what
kind
happens.
of not. I mean, Cohen's the boss, but he's not really the boss. I mean, he doesn't direct baseball operations.
I see it's on our sheet here. bidding war with Steve Cohen and this Yamamoto coming out of Japan.
Good luck, bro.
Thanks.
Good luck.
We got it.
Yeah. Cashman, what's the first name? Is it Yoshibu?
Yoshibu
Yamamoto.
Yoshinobu. Oh, God.
Let's go. Let's do this.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
There we go. We're just going to call him Yamamoto.
The next Masahiro Tanaka, but better.
He might be better. He's going to be paid handsomely, as I wrote in my notes here.
Yes.
29 scouts at his no-hit. Sorry. Come on. I'm excited. I'm a little excited.
Stop punching the freaking desk.
God. He's going to scream at me after about this.
Child.
There were 29 scouts at his last start in which he threw a no-hitter, including Brian Cashman sitting in the front row.
Right.
Billy Epler's been down there earlier in the season. A lot of people want this guy. But, if Steve Cohen wants him, blank check, please. There we go.
Okay.
No, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
No.
It's an easier alternative to Ohtani, right? Because, Ohtani's not pitching anymore.
Whoa.
What?
What did you just say?
It's an easier alternative.
No, it's not.
He's easier to sign than Ohtani's easier to sign.
He cannot swing a bat.
Well, pitching-wise.
Oh, sure. If Shohei Ohtani was just a pitcher, he wouldn't be celebrated like he is.
For the Mets and the Yankees, who have no shot, basically, at signing Ohtani, it's easier to sign Yamamoto than it is Ohtani.
What do they have in common besides that, they're both from Japan? I don't.
They're both great pitchers.
Okay, but
they're both
why
great
is
pitchers.
he being compared to Ohtani?
Because the Mets and the Yankees are going to need a pitcher. Ohtani, although he's
But
not going to be
Ohtani
pitching
is
this
a
year,
45 home run hitter.
I think the money that he's going to be making is.
I really don't know where you're going with this right now.
No, it makes sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes sense.
He's an easier alternative. This is like me. God, I don't even know. I'm the king of analogy. I can't even come up with one right now. It's like if Ohtani, Ohtani's a free agent, and I'm like, Max Fried is a great alternative to Shohei Ohtani. It's like, what? What does that even mean?
It's an easier signing to make. He's a pitcher. He's from Japan. He's really good.
I think what you're trying to say is they don't have a chance at getting Ohtani, so if you want to
easier.
feel good and have a big offseason acquisition, this is the guy.
This is easier for the Mets and the Yankees.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I mean, 100%.
Okay. Well, why don't we explain it a little better next time, all right?
Mike, I just said that 5
Mike,
seconds ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jesus Christ. Max Scherzer.
Yeah, how you feeling about that? I'm sure you celebrated today.
I didn't. I don't celebrate injury.
Yeah, you did a little dance.
I really don't celebrate
Low
injury.
life.
I don't celebrate injuries at all. Okay? But I mean,
sure.
did I put a smile on my face?
Right, yeah.
A little bit. You want to trash the organization on your way out? Yeah. How's the postseason for your team? Who, by the way, you had no help in helping them try and get to the postseason. They got worse, basically, when you got there. Team sucks. Team's not going to make the playoffs. I really am rooting on the Rangers' downfall. No, please, Chris Young, take Jacob deGrom, our other broken piece. Take Max Scherzer, who's been broken for 2 years now. Take him, please. Because every time we needed Max Scherzer in a big spot, guess what he did? He crapped the bed. So please, get him out of my face. You guys suck. And I don't even care if Luis Angel Acuna turns into a bust or he's a superstar. You guys got fleeced in that deal. Anyway.
I can't wait for... I missed Mets Merlot. We were missing him for a little bit.
I'm back. David Stern's got me back.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
And by the way, I love the fact they're going to have no expectations next year. I want to be that team. Oh, yeah, you could be a what?
You could be for now, you have no expectations.
For next season. Just for next season.
Let's talk in March. Okay?
2024, the expectation is not going to be
you
World
don't
Series.
even know what the roster looks like.
I don't. They
You're
could
saying
just say
Steve
F
Cohen's
it.
going to blank check this, blank check that. Let's wait till March, and then you're wearing your Mets hat on our prediction show and saying, I think this team might win 95 games.
I hope not. I hope we think the Braves are going to wipe the floor with them. And then they do wipe the floor with them, and they sneak into the wild card and go on a run. That's what I want. That's what I want. By the way, before we get to Dominguez, Ronald Acuna's a piece of crap.
Oh, my
okay?
God.
I've never been on the side of a Philadelphia sports fan more than I am right now. You see what Rob Thompson said this morning on radio? He said, what'd you think of Acuna celebrating his home run? Act like you've been there before. Yeah,
right.
Ronald. Why don't you act like you've been there before, okay?
That's
I can't stand
the cliche, though. You can't.
Ronald Acuna is my
saying.
least favorite player in baseball. I cannot stand him. Cannot stand Ronald
I thought it was
Acuna.
Trey Turner.
No. Trey Turner's been through enough. He's actually has these people feeling bad for him. You imagine a Philadelphia fans feeling bad for you? Jesus Christ. I hate Ronald Acuna. He's number
What about
one.
Max Scherzer?
Scherzer's up there too. He's 2.
God, you've had some other bad guys that you don't like.
I don't hate Bryce Harper anymore.
Really?
He's like been humanized, I think, by Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, I don't like him.
Who else do you hate?
The entire Braves roster. I hate Spencer Strider. I hate everybody on Matt
Of course you do,
Olson.
'cause they're amazing.
I can't stand Matt Olson. I can't stand Ozzy. Oh, I can't stand Albion. Marcelo Zuna, Eddie Rosario, the entire team. I can't stand anybody I like. Unless Freed wants to come here in a couple of years, then I like Freed. But other than that,
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Now you love him.
Jason Dominguez,
Yeah.
Tommy John. Why don't you
Yeah,
speak?
I mean, what?
Nice injury.
It's
week
just
for you.
ridiculous. Yeah, he'll be all right. Like it's the Tommy. You hear Tommy John, your heart drops. But he's a position player, so he's not going to be out for a year. We talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about Bryce Harper or whatever the hell that was, and Ohtani. And we were saying, these guys that have Tommy John, how do they come back as hitters? And Harper's had his struggles this year. He's had his ups, he's had his downs.
He's been good.
Dominguez is a guy that you want playing center field. This isn't a guy you're just going to DH. Part of his game, what makes him so good is he's a center fielder, and he's got a good arm, and he's fast, and he can play the outfield well. So if he comes back, later than expected, then that's a big blow for this team. You're hoping you'll have him back by opening day. He's getting the surgery right away, but
That's a big thing.
might be an unrealistic ask. I think it's possible. We'll see what happens.
Harper is back onto Bryce Harper numbers. I mean, after tough, so he got 17 home runs, 888 OPS. Like he's back to normal. He had the surgery late in the offseason, which really made no sense, which had to miss time. He has a surgery right now, which I didn't know. He's having the surgery now. He's like having it right away. That's a good thing. Right. Bring him back in June.
Right.
I heard Yankee fans like really being upset about this, and I would be upset too. But he'll be back next year. He'll be good. That's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to smack my leg?
Yeah, that's fine, I guess. If you need to smack something.
It's probably gonna. Wow. It's probably gonna come back up on the audio. Anyway, that was a fun episode.
Yeah, was it?
Got a lot done in that episode.
I had to vent a little bit. It's just.
I hope it felt good. I didn't even text him. After it happened, I didn't even text JM.
I'm not doing well. I've gotten a little better today, I will say.
Not doing well.
Monday night was awful. I mean, oh my God. And then you ever get bad news and then you go to bed and wake up the next morning, it's the first thing that hits your mind. You're like, wow. Well, my
wish that was a
morning is
dream.
ruined. Yeah, that was me. The Rodgers Instagram post helped. Knowing like him talking to the fans and knowing where he's alive.
Well, he was always
Obviously
alive.
But
He was always alive.
Hearing him speak for the first time was nice.
Oh.
Sunday's gonna suck. Watching Zach Wilson on that field is gonna suck, even if he plays well. Just knowing it could have been 8.
What's the score of that game? 23-6.
Jets are covering.
23-6 Dallas.
Get to the 3-star segment, and I'll let you know the Jets are freaking covering.
Yeah, listen. Check out our socials. Check out our YouTube. Betting show coming out Saturday morning. Tune in for that. I'm getting off to a good start. 2-1, 3 stars. I'm feeling good. So let's do this thing. Catch you later.